So, if you're wondering why I'm talking and my mouth is not moving, I'll just explain that I spent 50 minutes and 44 seconds going through this entire video about niacin, only to go back to Zoom and find that there was absolutely no audio. And that's just been my life lately, and that's why I have not been posting. But it also shows that, it's very clear to me that this is definitely part of the battle and part of the struggle. And this is a sign that what I'm sharing is something that will be helpful to at least one person. And so I am here at 2 o'clock in the morning doing this over with my microphone. And I'll just use the video, the initial video, up in the right hand corner as visuals. It's not that important anyway. What's important is going to be what I'm saying and then what's going to appear in the middle block here. So it might actually be better that I'm doing this over because it was long and I was adding a lot of little tidbits, and maybe this will keep me on point. So this is about niacin. And the first thing I'll just mention is, why am I bringing up niacin? Why is this the help tip that I felt compelled to share? And I felt compelled to share it because it's not new to most people. I know I used to take it back in the day religiously when I first heard about its benefits. But I think that now, as we move towards whatever we're moving towards, to most people it's an ascension, evolution, hopefully moving in a positive direction. A lot of what we need to do right now is purification, detoxification, and repairing of our DNA. So what niacin does is helps to detox the body, and also may help to protect from radiation poisoning or radiation. So I happened, again, like I said, I took it back in the day, and I just happened to be on an NDE Facebook chat, and there was a gentleman, I think he's about 80 something years old and has quite a life. He and I started talking, and then he mentioned his book, and he was like, "Oh, it's online, it's free, you can read it in 4 hours straight." And I'm like, I'm not trying to sit here and read a book for 4 hours straight. But at the same time, I was going through a very weird day. I've been having a lot of ups and downs lately, and it was exactly what I needed to hear and read at that time. So I literally sat and read the whole book. So I'm mentioning it because in the first chapter, I think let me see if I can pick this up. So in the first chapter, he, let's see, put this up. It's called My NDE, right? And I'll put the link in the description. But in the first chapter, he has a thing called the, I don't have it listed here, but he's talking about a skeleton. He's talking about how his sister and her, it was then boyfriend, I think he later became her husband. They were very into metaphysical and things of that sort. And they were trying to push niacin, like they had found out the benefits of niacin, like myself, and they're like trying to push it on him and his younger brother. And so he mentions, I think it's the boyfriend is Charles. He mentions an incident where some soldiers were observing an atomic blast in Nevada while standing behind a picket fence. Several years later, one of these soldiers, who was now one of Charles's students, was given some niacin, and his skin immediately began to flush red except for white areas on his chest, which took on the exact resemblance of the fence he had stood behind during the detonation. And another experience that Charles had, he said that he had taped a wide X on a volunteer's back, asking him to then lie out in the sun until he got sunburned. Charles pointed out that because the sun is actually a huge nuclear explosion, a sunburn is just like the radiation burns from an atomic blast, but much milder. Later on that day, when the tape was removed from his volunteer's back, naturally there was a large white X on it where the skin had been protected. So he had these experiences, as well as one that his brother experienced when they took the niacin at that family event. And I'm not going to get into all that. You can read it and enjoy it and see the benefits of niacin. So that is, reading that triggered my mind. I was like, oh my God, why did I stop taking it? This is definitely important. And so, and that might have been the whole reason why I, even came in contact with this guy. Is how life works sometimes. So, let's talk about what is niacin. Okay. So I'm already moving a little faster than before. So that's good. So from Conscious Spaces, actually, I'll read that one last, sorry. So from Healthline, when it explains what niacin is, it is one of 8 B vitamins, vitamin B3, and there are 2 main chemical forms of niacin, and I'm pretty sure I'll mispronounce a lot of these things, so bear with me, but it's nicotinic acid and niacinamide, sometimes called nicotinamide. Both forms are found in food as well as supplements. The key role of niacin in the body is to synthesize the coenzymes nicotinamide, NAD and NADP, which are involved in over 400 biochemical reactions in the body. It's related to obtaining energy from the foods you eat. So literally, this is something that we all should be taking, because that's what we want to do when we're eating. We want to change the food into energy as best as possible. So, and this is important too. So niacin is water soluble, so your body does not store it. This also means that your body can excrete excess amounts of the vitamin through urine if they are not exceeded. If not, they are not needed. So that's just in a nutshell what niacin is. So this table here is pretty important, and we'll explain why in a minute. But it shows how much intake based on your age, your sex, whether or not you're pregnant or nursing, that a person should take on average. Here it says 35 milligrams per day, but I'm going to mention a few other studies that said 30. And the reason why you don't want to take too much is that it will cause niacin flush. And I've experienced this, so I'm going to talk about this for quite a while to make sure that nobody has experienced this as well. So you don't want to take more than the necessary amount of niacin. So here again is, let me see if there's anything new here, but this is also talking about what niacin is. Yes, it's, I would say what's new here. So it's saying niacin converts food into energy the body can use. It's also an antioxidant and helps with DNA repair. So that's really the biggest reason why I feel like I was brought back to niacin, and why I'm being compelled to share it with anybody who is not aware of what it does, or just needs that same trigger to say, oh shoot, I'm not taking it as often and I should, because right now it's all about repairing our DNA. We already know that we're not using most of our DNA, so repairing it, maybe activating what we're not using, and then also ultimately getting back to what many people say that we should have is like that 12-strand DNA, and all this should happen if ascension is real, and we're also moving towards that evolution, and these are very real possibilities right now, and we have so many things fighting against that right now. We have so much radiation, EMF, pollution. Our water isn't good. Our air isn't good. The food isn't. It's all genetically modified. So we have a lot going against us. And depending on how awake you are, why this might be happening and who's doing it. But it's definitely part of the fight on a daily basis is to try to maintain this earth suit, and which is connected to our I guess you would say our souls. So the other thing that I'll mention again in a few later things is about how niacin improves the cholesterol levels. So it's generally good for people who have type 1 diabetes, but type 2 is a question mark. And it's very important that if you have type 2 diabetes, you're not just running to get niacin. You definitely should talk to your health provider or several health providers to get a good balanced response as to whether or not you should be taking it, because it could reduce the the bad cholesterol, but it might increase your blood sugar, which obviously is not something you want to deal with if that's what you have. So I think the last thing I have here under what is niacin, I mentioned NADH. So that's the biologically active form of niacin. It's a spark for energy production, and it's vital. Niacin in general is vital for the proper functioning of all living cells, including brain cells, the cells of the nervous system, both of which are believed by some scientists to be negatively affected by long-term exposure to electromagnetic radiation. And God knows we are just constantly under attack with that. Being a native New Yorker and spending most of my life in the city. I remember one time I was talking to a internet tech, and he was trying to check my signal, and he literally started stuttering. He was like, "Oh my God, there's so many." So here again, I went on to speak for like 20 more minutes. So when I finished, I saw it was about 30 minutes of audio, and then I made sure I saved it, even though the computer was going pretty slow. I saved it, and then I go back to start editing, and it's only 10 minutes. It cuts off right there. So at this point, I know I'm tenacious, but like I said, there's a lot of this happening right now. So it looks crazy. It looks mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that if anyone else is dealing with this, we're aware of what this is all about. So clearly there's something that I'm saying in this that needs to be said and needs to be shared. And so I will, it's 3:00 in the morning now. I am going to rest and either make this into a 2-part video, which would be insane for Niacin, or I'm just going to come back and I'll finish this tomorrow. So yes, patience. So it got more interesting. It's now the next day, and I wake up to find that some guys, the electric company, and I just got finished talking about EMF, right? But the electric company came without any notice and started working on a pole that they were supposed to have worked on for like the last month, but they couldn't. And so I didn't have any electricity from 9 until 2:00. It's 3:00 now. So I just, at this point, I was just laying in my bed. I'm like, you know what? This video does not want to happen. It just doesn't, and this is what's been happening in my life recently. So I really am learning to just surrender. I'm officially surrendering to everything. But at the same time, something in me is saying it must be something that's being said, or just the main idea here, or just the pushing out the idea that niacin and DNA repair are important. Something is highly necessary for all this to happen. It's either highly necessary and when this happens, or it's something that is just it should not be out there, and I can't imagine that that's what this is. So I'm gonna go with, there's some important information here that that they don't want shared. So I'm going to do my part and keep pushing forward, even though this has become like the whole beginning of the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. Before the happiness, that's what this video has become. So I think I was telling the story about the internet tech when I was in New York City, who was stuttering when he saw how many, I guess, rays or frequencies were going through my apartment. Like, he was really in shock. And that's kind of how city dwellers live. We're living in spaces where it's every kind of toxin and pollutant that you can think of. And you have children growing up in that. And it's just, we definitely have to do better if possible. So that's that. I'm going to go into the benefits. And hopefully I remember the things that I've said before. I don't forget anything, because this is now take 3. So with Healthline, they have 5 benefits. I'm just going to go through those. And the number 1 benefit with niacin is that it improves blood fat levels. So that's why, if you have bad cholesterol, then this is the supplement for you. So it increases your HDL, which is the good cholesterol, reduces your LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and reduces your triglyceride levels. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit on Healthline for niacin is that it may reduce blood pressure. So just trying to think if I should mention this, but I've had a lot of friends and family members who have had blood pressure issues, and I always try to get them before they start taking any kind of prescription drug for that, because it just really seems like it's a downward spiral. And I've known people who passed, while using these high blood pressure medicines. So if it's possible, if it's not something that's out of the realm of possibility, it's good once you hear that you have high blood pressure and you confirm that you really do, and it's not just that you're stressed. Because I've known people, I had someone close to me who would go to the doctor and would continuously be told they had high blood pressure, and I knew that they didn't. Like, I just knew that this was not the issue. So I said, okay. They gave them a monitor, and every time they would check their blood pressure at home and they were perfectly fine. It was only when they went to the doctor's office, and they just happened to be terrified of doctors and doctors' offices. So your blood pressure is, it is affected by your, emotional state, as well as there were times that I would run or bike to the doctor's office, and those were the times my blood pressure was off the charts. So they just had to wait. Like, if you have a smart doctor, they'll realize, okay, just give it some time or check it again. But just keep that in mind. Like, don't just jump on the bandwagon, because you had one high blood pressure reading to start taking the pills. It's also, lots of different foods, tons of herbs. Like, there are really, if you start researching it, sometimes it's too many. Like, when I've helped a few people get their blood pressure under control prior to getting on any medication, and I sometimes have to be careful, not send so many options, because there really are a lot, and it starts with your food, your diet, so apparently back to this, niacin releases prostaglandins. Again, I'm probably not pronouncing any of this correctly, but you can read along. And that's a chemical that helps blood vessels widen, so that improves your blood flow and reduces your blood pressure. Okay, so the third, let's get here. I feel like I should keep checking the checking the vocals to make sure the audio is actually recording. I'm so paranoid now. Okay, so the third benefit is that it may help treat type 1 diabetes. I think I mentioned this earlier during this take, that it helps the body, could protect the cells and even help to lower the risk of type 1 diabetes in children who have a higher chance of developing it. However, for people with type 2 diabetes, while it might lower the high cholesterol levels, it may increase blood sugar levels. And that's, if you have type 2 diabetes, that's not what you're looking for. So generally, for those who have type 2 diabetes, if they're trying to decide if they should take niacin, you should definitely speak to your healthcare provider. Okay, so number 4, and they have 5 benefits here. So number 4 is it boosts brain function, and this is so important. My God, it's so important. I've noticed a lot of, even with myself, I don't know that I ever had COVID or not. If I did, it was asymptomatic. I never had the experience during that. But people who have had COVID for sure, and who got the jab, have mentioned to me, and these are friends who, most of my friends are PhDs, friends who they generally have no problem with their brain capacity, and they were saying that they had brain fog and forgetting things, and their memory was kind of going, and it's just weird. It just made no sense. There's no other good explanation. So there's a lot of things out there that are trying to dumb us down. You can control the dumb, you can control those who can't think for themselves, and that's generally just overall, that's why that's happening, most likely. So it's important that, and we are what we eat, right? So it goes back to the food and what we're consuming and what's going in and around our body. So we have to purify, we have to detox. And it looks like niacin, as a part of the coenzymes NAD and NADP, it helps to get energy, the brain to get energy and function properly. It says, in fact, brain fog and even psychiatric symptoms are associated with niacin deficiency. Some types of schizophrenia can be treated with niacin, as it helps undo damage to brain cells that's caused by niacin deficiency. So very important connection between brain function and niacin. Okay. And then the final benefit here with Healthline is it improves skin health. And I did see a number of topical niacin solutions on Amazon when I was looking. It helps protect skin cells from sun damage, whether it's used orally or applied as a lotion. So internally or out, that's great. Okay. And it may help prevent certain types of skin cancer as well. So again, it's just really one of those kind of cure-alls in some ways. So those are the 5 benefits. And I'm going to very important, talk about the deficiency. And I think I did miss this on take 2, so this is good that I'm seeing this now. So these are the symptoms of niacin deficiency. So skin rash, which is weird because if you take too much, the same could happen. Bright red tongue, vomiting, constipation or diarrhea, depression, fatigue, headache, memory loss, and loss of appetite. So if you're not getting enough niacin, that's what could occur. So I'm hoping that I'm recording. I'm going to stop after this section and just make sure it's all there. So the foods that repair or protect cells. So that's what we want to do, right? DNA repair, cell repair. And this is a list here of the different types of foods rich in cell protective nutrients, such as sulforaphanes, right? And so you see broccoli here, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, broccoli sprouts are really great. And also ensure sufficient quantities of niacin and magnesium. Magnesium is big because it helps with pain relief as well. Like they have topical sprays and they have the powder, the pills, etc. But magnesium is big if you're trying to work with pain tolerance or working with the levels of pain that you have, and you don't want to deal with the heavy drugs the doctor might give you. Okay, and here we go. Some more DNA repair foods just listed here. This is just talking about the DNA damage that happened. So it is estimated that on average there are 800 incidents of DNA damage in our bodies per hour. My God, if that's right, if that's correct, help us. That's about 19,000 hits to our DNA every day. What's more, the DNA damage can cause mutations and give rise to cancer. We've already see that, correct? Thankfully, the regulation of DNA repair can be added to the list of biological processes that are influenced by what we eat. And specifically, that this might constitute part of the explanation for the cancer preventive effects of many plant-based foods. So again, it's just very important that we eat that plant-based diet and kind of try to counteract what's happening in the world that we've created here. And so the last thing I'll mention here in this section is something I found while I was searching for niacin information. So this is a girl in Australia who she and her friends decided to go to this spa, or I guess a retreat clinic, that's what they call it. And they do a niacin detox with infrared sauna. So in my opinion, especially after having taken niacin and having had the flush situation, I don't know that I would have taken the doses that they took during this clinic experience. You can go to that website. I'll have it in the link. I'll put the link in the description. Sorry. And you can see exactly what they did. But as you can see, her friend on the bottom is really not looking too good. She's got the flush in complete flush effects. And then there's another, let me go to the next niacin. Oh yes. So by day 3 of this clinic, she started to sweat, or they started to sweat black. They literally were, sweating out all of these toxins, and it was coming out on their towels. And it just shows you just how important it is and what's being held in our body when we're not detoxing. It's just sitting there, and you want it out. You would definitely want to get rid of that. So the last thing I'll mention here in this section is niacin and the flush, right? So niacin B3 works for sauna detoxification. Is very similar to how far infrared wavelengths work. Just like the infrared, niacin targets the fat cells and causes them to disperse, releasing heavy metals and toxins that have been stored in those fat cells, right? And putting it back into the bloodstream, allowing the detox method of the body to occur. So it's just moving stuff. It's moving and grooving, right? Getting it out. All right. So let me stop here and check and make sure that the audio has recorded. Okay. So far, so good. So I'm going to try to move a little faster because I know that the second take I was able to finish this in 30 minutes. So the side effects of niacin. So we're going to talk about that flush again. Okay. Now I'm having trouble with my mouse. Oh my God, what is happening? All right, so what is niacin flush and what causes it? So niacin flush is a side effect of someone consuming high doses of niacin. It looks like skin flushing. It most common in the face, arms, and chest. The flush usually occurs quickly and lasts about an hour. I can attest to this. Nicotinic acid in particular can cause the skin to redden, become warm to the touch, and feel itchy. Nicotinamide doesn't cause a flush. The flush isn't dangerous, it's just bothersome. And it does, like I said, it might have somebody quit taking the medication and they should continue to take it. So here is, I think the last thing I had mentioned said 35 milligrams, like at 35 or more, it can cause the flush. This is saying 30 milligrams. So to be safe, just stick to, no more than 30 milligrams a day of nicotinic acid. And of course, there's the option to just go with the no flush. And you'll see that very clearly once you start searching that they have the regular niacin and the no flush. And the no flush is just, the difference is that it's just slow release. It's just slowly releasing into your system instead of overhauling. So that's that. And and consuming food, like if you consume foods with niacin, it's very unlikely that you would get the flush. Like you just can't get that amount. It's only through the supplement that this might happen. Okay, so the side effects again of niacin, so that just mentions what I just said about not consuming too much in foods, and that the high doses of niacin can cause nausea, vomiting, and liver toxicity. So definitely want to make sure you're not taking too much. You don't need a lot, so just keep it, keep it slow, keep it low and simple. Okay, and I think they also mentioned side effects like headache and low blood pressure, which would make sense if it decreases blood pressure. If you take too much, it will give you low blood pressure. Okay, and the next and final slide for this is how to stop the flush. Now this was news to me, so I was excited reading this. So you can take aspirin. 325 milligrams of aspirin a half hour before you take niacin can lower your risk of having the flush. Taking it with food, which is kind of I don't want to say a no-brainer, but you kind of know that with certain medications you shouldn't take it on an empty stomach. What was news to me though was that they said especially an apple, like taking an apple with it. And I used to swear by, the adage, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I ate an apple a day. I felt for about, and I might be exaggerating here, but like 5 to 10 years. It was some insane amount of time, and I did not get sick. Like people even just kind of stopped and thought, like, wait a minute, I've never seen you sick. I'm like, because I'm eating my apple. At the same time as, while I'm kind of pushing apples right now, just know that it should be organic and it shouldn't have all these pesticides and weird stuff on it. Otherwise it'll defeat the purpose and be, as could be as helpful as it should be, it will be as detrimental, right? So you want to get a clean, pure apple. No, that's right. All right. And avoid certain foods, beverages, and hot showers. Avoid hot drinks, spicy foods, and hot showers around the same time you're taking the supplement. So, and I guess that makes sense if you think about it. Taking it slow. So that's what I said before. Just build up your tolerance. Start very low until you know how your body's going to interact with it. I mean, very, very low. And last one is just get the no flush. Get the no flush and you'll be all right. So that's that for the side effects. And then I just wanted to mention, and I kind of started this already, but just, this last slide will be about more foods with niacin. And you can find it in meat foods like poultry, beef, and fish. And it tells you the serving size. Plant foods, including nuts, legumes, and grains. And it shows you the serving size. Bread, cereals, and infant formula are also fortified with niacin. And they also mentioned this amino acid that's found in turkey. Again, I'm a vegetarian, been so for a while, so those are not my options for me, the meat ones, but you have tons of plant foods that have niacin in there. And of course the supplement. So with the supplements, we are moving a little faster. With the supplements, I'm going to list the ones I didn't have. Initially, I didn't have the lotion or like the topical form, but I will add that as well. And you have, the liquid form. You can put that under your tongue. But again, remember that might be faster than the pill. So if you want to start off slow, you don't want to experience this flush, you might want to start off with just pills and a very low dosage. They also have it in powder form, and just try to go organic. Always look at all, make sure there's not too many additives and you're just getting what you're trying to put in your body, not anything else. So that's it for the most part. Trying to think of anything I had said in take 1 or take 2 that I thought was important to share. I did also mention some other DNA repairing herbs. I want to make a whole video on astragalus. That's been on my to-do list. It's very important. So if I don't get a chance and you're hearing it here, astragalus root, very important. Do your research. And these are the days when you have to really kind of trust yourself and do things yourself, because there's just so many, the spiritual and the health industries have really been hijacked like everything else. Like nothing is sacred. It's over. It's done. They know where to get us. So it's important that you don't, the time of the guru is over, that you don't blindly follow anybody, including myself. Like you can get suggestions, you can do your research, but discern like a mother. Discern like a mother. I've just seen so many weird things out there that just makes me concerned for us as a whole if we just blindly follow anybody. So put the energy into it. And I know sometimes people live lives, you're like, look, I don't have time to worry about these supplements and buying this. I don't have the money. Does SNAP cover it? So you have all these situations. But when it comes down to it, if you want to connect, and it's a lot of people who say that in order to really connect, especially if you feel like you've had, and I had this conversation actually with my landlord earlier today, but if you feel like you're disconnecting from God, or you've been disconnected, you're not feeling that connection you used to, you're not thinking it God as your mama, papa, and being able to call on God, then the DNA generally is the answer. You remember, like, we're connected. We have our soul, we have our spirit, we have all these other parts of us, but the body right now is our tool, to unless you're OBEing every other day. I mean, granted, we do at night, but just, at will, OBEing, you're not connected right now. You're living this human experience. So your best bet, if you're trying to connect more spiritually and get that connection back to source, is to purify, clarify, detox this earth suit and get that DNA repaired. Especially for our spiritual evolution and ascension, it's important. And hopefully I mentioned everything. I feel like I might have lost a few things between this and the previous take, but I got through it. We did this, and I hope something here was helpful for you. I send you light, I send you love, I send you blessings. Peace.